Hi there. I thought I'd do this quick little video on Ballast N Gauge. I've been having lots of problems with this and I've done lots of attempts at how to do it, and I've been looking at lots of stuff, especially Helpful Dave and Simon Shed, but each one of those methods didn't seem to give me the right result. So I'm going to just run this quick video, put together how I've done it, not necessarily the right way, but this is how I find gets a good result with N Gauge. So here we are. Here's a track I'm going to do. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to
I've got my pot, and in my pot I've got
all the way to the end
PVA straight out of the canister, and then I've actually gone to Boots and just got a very small medical syringe. Okay, so I've got my syringe loaded with 100% PVA, and the next thing I'm going to do is try and create a bead all the way down the outside of the track. I did forget to say earlier that I'm using track lay to try and hopefully make this a little bit easier, especially in the middle. So I'm just doing a bead of glue all the way down, PVA 100%, all the way down the outside so we can catch all of the ballast I put on to try and form the nice shoulder. Okay, so now we're doing the other side. All the way down the outside again. So again, it's 100% PVA down the side. Okay, so just to recap, what I've done here is I've done a bead of 100% PVA glue all the way down both sides of all the track I'm going to ballast, as you can see, all the way down the sides, hopefully to get a good shoulder, which is what I've been trying to get consistently. And I'll say again, this is N Gauge track with track lay. Okay, so we've now got the bead of PVA all the way down the side. Next thing to do is take one of these little N Gauge ballast hoppers and fill it with ballast. Now I found the best way is a small egg spoon, as you can see, just to top it. I'm just trying not to get too much everywhere. Okay, filling it right to the top. There we go. And then I'm just going to drag it along the track very carefully, and as you can see, it's going on and it's covering both sides. I also found that don't let this run right out, otherwise you end up with illusion. So you can see it's going down almost there, and I'll re-top it up about here. Okay, so I've re-topped it up. It's going to come all the way down here. Okay, now this time I'm going to go out, because we're coming to the end, I'm going to let this run out now. Okay, so what I've done here is I've run out and I've turned the hopper around and put it on the end of the track. That way I start him from the end and I move him back towards the middle. Now I'm obviously not going to need very much in here, so just a couple of small spoonfuls. Same thing again, just put it along, hopefully I put enough in, that's a good guess, all the way to the end, and just keep going to use the last bits up. Okay? Okay, so obviously that was the easy part, which was just doing the straight track. Now when I come to points, I've had lots of attempts to do this, same thing again. Best thing I've found is to dip my fingers in and just pick a handful up like this and then spread it on the track. So I'm picking a hand up and then I'm just literally sprinkling it onto the point. This way I'm trying to control the amount that goes on to the point. Just found it easier afterwards to get it going, making sure you put quite a nice lot on the edges, up and down the edges, keeping it going up and down the edge. And then this side. Okay, so there we are, a little bit more there, just a little bit over the edge. So we've just got a nice bit on the shoulder, not too much in the middle of the point. Okay, so here we are.
All the track now is been using the hopper and just sprinkling over the points like I demonstrated. That I've ballasted all down the edges. You can see now I've actually come all the way down the bottom. Now you will have noticed, and I think this is a little bit of a fault in the ballast hopper I've got, but there's actually too much really ballast on there. And I was worried about this when I started, but then I changed my mind, because what happens is as I start cleaning it up, it will go over the edges and it will come down. For example, where the cross hatching is there's going to be a platform there, so obviously I need to build it up into the platform area. So it will all get used or get vacuumed off. Okay, next thing to do is obviously clear the ballast, the excess ballast off. As you can see here, what I've done is I've just got an artist paintbrush here, which is just about the right width for the point. And what I've done is I keep coming along here, just keep coming and remove as much as possible from the point. That's what I found is the best way, especially around here, which is obviously where the spring is on this point, to actually keep it there. Okay, so moving down now, once you keep going, and you've got to keep going backwards and forwards. Next point is I've now got this area all along here, and you can see there's too much ballast on here. So what I do is I just use my thumb and I basically just push it all the way down. And as you can see, it actually goes over the shoulder again, which is quite good because we'll do that in a minute. So I keep going backwards and forwards with my thumb just to spread it. And then on the next track, I go backwards and forwards and then just to spread it. Next thing I do is take the brush, and obviously it's still too much there, so what I tend to do then is start brushing. As you can see, the sleepers are starting to appear. Keep coming down, all the way down. And keep just pushing it in one direction down the track. Then go back to the other track, on the side. These two are quite close together, so I'm going to work them together. And I will then end up with enough ballast in the middle between the two tracks. Okay, so having done the first sort, next thing I'm going to do is just take my finger and just run it down the side just to get the edge of the sleepers. And as you can see, that's now creating quite a nice shoulder along the edge there. Okay, and I'm going to do it on this one here, which is a bit more awkward because it's on the side. I'm going to keep going on this one here. See, just start to appear. Then I'm going to come on this side, a bit more awkward to film. Same thing down the edge. Same thing down this edge here. So we're starting to expose the sleepers. I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep moving this part here because obviously we've got too much here, so I'm going to move that down. And as you do this, it's going to go back in the middle, and you need to brush the middle, and then you need to brush the outside again. Eventually trying to get as little as possible. I'm going to end up by very little here. It's actually going down the edge of the sleeper here with the brush very, very carefully, and eventually end up with it completely exposed, and that should give us our nice shoulder. But as I say, you keep brushing backwards and forwards along here, just keep going, keep moving this bit all the way down until it's actually nice and clear. Okay, one little tip that I found out, take a toothpick, here's a normal toothpick, and just go along the inside of the track, especially on these areas here where they're guided, and just remove all these tiny pieces, because again, if the glue or the PVA sets in there, you're going to get them caught in there, and just literally take out those small pieces. As I said, run along the inside of the track. Just take, even in the middle bit here, anywhere where the wheels are going to go between. Okay, once you finish the point, then just, as you can see, use your toothpick, go all the way along the inside of the track to remove any of those granules of this very fine ballast. Now you'll see here where the brush is that there's bits all over the place, and you can tidy up the edges. What I tend to do now is use this brush. I've got a slightly thicker one or the fine one, and literally just brush this up towards the edge very carefully until you end up with exactly the finish you need along the shoulder. It's going to take a little while, it takes time, but eventually you'll end up with it being a nice shape on the side of the rail. Okay, having made all your track nice and tidy, next thing to do is to mix up PVA and water. 50-50 is what I used, and the magic ingredient is some washing up liquid, fairy liquid. Now you just want a few drops, although it's quite difficult to get drops out of this bottle, into the liquid. So having added PVA and water 50-50 and a few drops of washing up liquid, now you've got to thoroughly mix it. Don't go too mad on this, otherwise you end up with a frothy liquid. So slowly just mix it in together until you've got a nice consistency. And the secret I found here is that some people say do less percentage, and I found that quite difficult to deal with because then it goes everywhere all over the board. So this way, 50-50, I found I can use an eyedropper, which you'll see in a minute, to just tidy up the edges. Okay, your next important little piece of equipment is a small bottle with the finest spray you can possibly find. This one is from a Boots makeup kit for ladies. Very fine spray. Now what we're going to do with this is actually spray the gravel that we've just the ballast that we've actually just done, and we're going to get it absolutely soaking wet. Now, word of warning, don't spray directly at the ballast. The ballast is so small, so tiny and so light that what will happen is you'll move the ballast around and you'll ruin all the hard work you've just done. So what you have to do is just very finely spray over. Okay, so here's the bottle then. So as you can see, I'm not spraying directly down, that will move all the ballast. What I'm doing is just spraying across the board, and literally I'm just getting all the ballast that I want to do soaking wet. That will help the PVA to actually just sink into the ballast. If you don't actually do that, it will float on the top. So this has to be quite wet. I was very concerned about getting the points wet, but I've done quite a few bits now and it all seems to be surviving. As I say, try not to at first spray directly onto the ballast. Just keep going until you get it all wet. Okay, next thing to do is to take, this is an eyedropper, again from Boots kit. I found this the best one to actually work with. What we're trying to do here is to drop some of the PVA mixture solution with the fairy liquid all around the edges of everything that we've ballasted. Now don't drop it from a great height, otherwise again you'll have the same problem, you'll move the ballast. So load the dropper up and then basically almost touching, literally I just go on so it's a lot of the thing, see it just goes in and you can see it just along the edges very carefully, soaking it in. Okay, move on to all the ballast. Don't worry about it looking white, it will dry clear. In fact, actually when you're doing this, it actually helps you know where you've actually been. But as I said, be very careful, don't drop it from a great height, otherwise you'll end up moving the ballast. Okay, hopefully you can see the area I've done looks quite white now, all along the edge. Don't worry about that, it will dry off. So as you say, so that's it. So you just have to go very patiently all the way over all the ballasting we've just done. Finally, I've added ballast in between the areas. This is obviously a staging area, platform area, and obviously where the platforms are, for example just here, obviously there's no ballast required underneath those. But obviously over here I've actually just put the ballast on here. Now again I've used the same technique here as I did in the points, that's just sprinkling it very very lightly. I tried to do it other ways but I find it comes out too thick and looks very very bumpy and uneven. Looks very white at the moment but now all we need to do now is leave this alone for at least 12 hours and come back for the next part. The PVA is all now dried off. As you can see, I've put some of the stations back into place. You can see it's quite a nice finish to it now. The only thing that you will have to probably do is to use the toothpick again on the inside of the rails and through the points again, just to make sure that nothing else has gone onto the inside of the ballast rails. Hope this has been a little bit of use to people. Like I say, everybody has a different way of doing it, and this is one that I find that works quite well.